Hi, it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, so subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. So if you're an asexual person who doesn't like sex and you're not into watching movies with sex in them, you want to find something without sex, I have a real treat for you today. I'm going to be reviewing Avengers movie. This is Avengers Ensemble. And if you haven't already seen the movie and you want to watch it and you don't like spoilers, please do not watch this video. But if you like spoilers and want to know more, then please stay tuned in. So I actually thought I'd seen all the Avengers movies, and I didn't realize till I was browsing through the superhero movies on Disney Plus that I hadn't seen the first Avengers movie. I somehow thought The Age of Ultron was the first Avengers movie, and I didn't realize there was an actual film called The Avengers, and that was the Avengers Ensemble. And so I was like really like freaked out by the fact I haven't seen a superhero movie that I probably love. And I have to say, I really, really, really loved this movie. I thought it was so action-packed and incredible, and the special effects were amazing, and the whole cast of the Avengers was absolutely stunning, and I just loved it all from beginning to end. And I was feeling really kind of like stressed out yesterday, and I was looking for something. I'm like, it appeared and I'm like, why didn't I see this before on Disney Plus? Was it not actually there, or did I just bypass it and think I'd already seen it? So I was like, wow. Oh, who's in chat? Cloudy X Days. Oh, lovely to see you. So yes, I can believe it. I'm like, why haven't I seen this? I've seen all the other Avengers movies. It was kind of crazy. My favorite Avenger, by the way, and superhero character is Iron Man. I absolutely adore Iron Man. So I loved watching this movie, particularly for all the Iron Man scenes in it. It was great. I think he's a really good actor as Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. But I love the whole team. I thought it was an incredible cast. So Loki, who's the adopted brother of Thor, he is in this movie playing the main villain alongside the Chitauri army, who he's kind of, I don't know if he's working for them or working for himself. I think he's doing both because, he's planning to get what he thinks the Chitauri army wants from him, or the army have said they want him to get. He's planning on keeping it for himself, which is the Tesseract. So basically, he uses the Tesseract's power to travel from Asgard to Midgard. I'm going to read this bit out actually off a site, the imdb.com site. If you don't know it, it's where all the movie stuff is. So he uses the Tesseract's power to travel from Asgard to Midgard to plot the invasion of Earth and become a king. The director of the agency S.H.I.E.L.D, Nick Fury, sets in motion Project Avengers. So at the beginning, you come to know that there is Avengers, but they kind of like the Avengers was kind of what can I say? It was not actually. It's like, how can I put it? It was like a project. I can't remember what they call it. When they've set up something to do something, but then they've abolished it, if you know what I mean. It's like an undercover thing, isn't it? They set up the Avengers, like Secret Service, whatever. And, instead of abolishing it, they're bringing all the characters to actually come and do the good work of saving that planet Earth. So the Avengers are all like outcasts. They're like, people with special powers, superhero. You're probably aware of the movie because nearly everyone's watched these superhero movies. But basically, they're a mixed bag of different types of people with superhero abilities. And Tony Stark, though, he has an Iron Man costume, if you like, an Iron Man suit. But his heart is made of like special stuff, shall we say. And because he got shrapnel in his heart, basically, so he had to make this energy source to keep his heart going. So basically these Avengers have to come together to save the world from Loki and getting his hands on the Tesseract so all the power can go to Loki. Now, he's meant to be working for the Chitauri army, Loki is, but Loki does say at one point, that he hasn't given the Tesseract to them yet. And so he is wanting to keep it for himself, basically. And in this film, you see the fact that Loki is an adopted brother to Thor. And Loki resents the fact that Thor was always a preferred child, and he seems to have no feelings for his stepbrother, Thor, if you like, adopted brother. He's adopted, so I don't know what that makes him. Does it make him a stepbrother, adopted brother, a brother by not blood? You know what I mean? So yes, they're not blood brothers, but so he's quite angry with Thor and says you got all the attention. So he wants all the power, but you can tell what he wants throughout the film is to break the Avengers up. So they come together. They don't really know each other at the beginning. They're bonding, but they're bonding in a kind of weird type of way. But they kind of, some of them are not bonding very well. They're kind of against each other, like Captain America and Iron Man. They're kind of against each other to begin with. And then they have to kind of come together to fight Loki and and the Chitauri. But Loki breaks them up on purpose so that they then become weaker. And this is very reflective of the end game. If you've seen the final Avengers movies and you've seen the end game, you will know that in that they try to break the Avengers up. So I'd not seen the Avengers first movie until yesterday, the Avengers Ensemble. So I was quite shocked at the mirroring of the final episode, if you like, final movie of the Avengers, the end game, because it's basically very similar in the sense that they're being torn apart. The Avengers are having someone come between them on purpose so they disagree with each other, they fall out with each other, and that weakens them, so that then evil can strike, if you know what I mean. And so at the end of the Avengers Ensemble, you actually see, and the credits, I always watch the credits, you see Thanos. So that's an introduction to Thanos. And obviously Thanos is one that kills a lot of the Avengers off in the endgame. So you've got very similar storylines in terms of the fact that the whole plot is to break the Avengers up, is to infiltrate them, cause disharmony, disruption, cause them to fight and argue and go against each other in order for evil to win. And so, yeah, I thought it's very interesting that they've done that. And I know in a lot of kind of stories, for example, non-fiction, I write non-fiction rather than fiction usually. And in non-fiction, even, they say you should start the book and you should end the book as you start. So you should repeat what you said in the beginning, really, as a summary, if you're writing like a how-to book, for example. So it's kind of weird that in the movie they've got that. They've got, go back to the beginning. And also in my speaker training with the Blue Talks company that I joined last year, I joined their speaking packages. You kind of meant to introduce the talk, and then you kind of meant to end on a call to action, an inspiration, something like that. But often it's going back to a point of your original point, if you know what I mean, as a storytelling psychological thing, if you like. But yeah, I did like the fact that Loki was a bad guy. I guess he's always been a bad guy through the majority of the beginning films, I think, particularly. But you do see a different side to him, I think, as you go through the Avengers movie. You see a little bit of a different side to him. But in the main, it's the fact that Thor has feelings and cares about Loki. It's always like Loki doesn't care. Loki doesn't get sentimental. Loki doesn't have emotions. He just wants to get power all the time. So there was some amazing scenes in this when the Chitauri, if you like, army let rip on all these kind of like weird and wonderful metal worm things. I don't know what you would call them, but they were like really crazy. And Yeah, there was all the Chitauri army that came down, and all the Avengers had to try and kill them. And there was some really good special effects in that. And they did, like, Loki did change the minds of some of the characters, like he had them under like a trance spell so they would do bad things. And one of the main characters, Clint Barton, aka or Hawkeye, he was one under Loki's spell, and he was actually trying to kill Natasha, aka the Black Widow, and the others. So he's trying to kill his fellow Avengers because he went over to the dark side because Loki took over his brain, basically. And you see a point in the movie where, he's asking Natasha, like, have you ever had a situation where you've had something stuffed in your brain that wasn't yours, but you were made to have it? And how uncomfortable did that feel? And that is actually brainwashing. It's when someone puts something in your brain that is uncomfortable, and often it's not for our own good. But it's very good the way Clint described that feeling. And of course Natasha says, well, yeah, of course I'm like that, because if you watch the Black Widow movie, you'll know that that's basically what happened. Her parents and were part of a system that brainwashed their kids into becoming killing machines, basically spies and killing machines. And so Natasha, of course, does relate to that. It's quite weird because the way that Clint gets his memory back, his good memory, and knocks out the bad one, is by Natasha smacking him on the head a couple of times, like really knocking him out. I'm not sure it'd be as simple as that to just knock someone out, but that's what happens. But throughout a lot of the film, Clint is the one driving the evil forces, if you like, to the ship in the air. I was going to say a ship in the air. It sounds weird, doesn't it? But basically, they have like this ship on the sea, and then it goes off into the air and becomes like an aircraft. So that was pretty cool, and that's where S.H.I.E.L.D. is. So Loki gets gets Hawkeye to go against his own Avengers teammates, if you like, to infiltrate the aircraft where S.H.I.E.L.D. is, where, Nick Fury is, and to basically bring it down. So, yeah, it's an interesting movie. I really loved it. I know that there's probably a lot more that could be said about it, but I think, like, it's quite a basic storyline in a way, but it's introducing all the characters, the main characters, and it's showing you kind of like the psychology of how the different characters work. So, for example, Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, he's trying to say in the movie, he's trying to say that he's got the Hulk contained. He just wants to like be a doctor, and you see part of the movie where he's being a doctor and he's helping sick children. And then Natasha pulls him out of that and saying, we need you to help save the world. And he doesn't really want to go. And he ends up going on the ship with them that turns into an aircraft. And he he tries not to let anyone bring the Hulk out of him and tries to just keep really, really cool. And then eventually he does show the Hulk, because I think it's Iron Man goes, we need you. And basically he says, the secret I've been harboring is I get angry all the time. So he can let the Hulk out, he's saying, basically, whenever he wants. But you'll notice in films that come up later on that he can't always bring the Hulk out on demand when he wants to. The Hulk is kind of a law unto himself, if you know what I mean. But Iron Man does say a good point that if it wasn't for the Hulk, that he'd be dead, because it's a Hulk that saved his life, because people shouldn't be able to take that amount of gamma rays. And they bring in the Hulk to find out all about the Tesseract's power, because it's supposed to have gamma rays, I think. And the Hulk he was made because of the gamma I don't know, was it a gamma experiment that went wrong or something with Banner? Basically, he was exposed to gamma rays, wasn't it, that should have killed him, and it didn't. So Iron Man is saying that it's a Hulk that saved his life, and if it wasn't for the Hulk, he wouldn't even be alive. So yeah, it's very interesting the way that Tony Stark is in the movie. He does have quite a lot of authority, but then when it comes to the really strong fight scenes, he lets Captain America take over and give orders. So I kind of liked that system between them. I kind of liked the juxtaposition of their roles. One minute Iron Man is kind of in charge, and then it's given to Captain America. So I like that. I liked finding out about the characters, but I just loved all the action in this. I was like on the end of my seat thinking, this is so good. There's so much action. There's so many great things with these Chitaris and their weird mechanical creatures falling from the sky, and just like there's just like constant tension and constant like, oh my gosh, how are these things going to be killed, and how are they going to like solve the problem, and how, because what's meant to happen is the Tesseract's power is meant to be that powerful that you can't shut it down. And so the world is always in a threat constantly, you know? So yeah, it's very interesting. I think there's probably more that people could dive into in the movie in terms of storyline and plot, but to me it's quite a basic plot, really. I think it's more of an introduction to the characters and setting the scene for the future movies. I think it's very interesting that Iron Man is trying to hack the files of Nick Fury, because he's saying that Nick Fury, you know, has got a lot to hide. And so I think that's quite interesting. He's already set the premise for the fact that the person in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not actually necessarily who he seems to be. And in the movie, you actually do see him lie. So they kill a character off in the first movie that's quite an endearing character, I think. And they kill him off, which I wasn't expecting. And so in the movie, Nick Fury says, oh, these playing cards, these cards of Captain America, that had Captain Collector's cards, basically, they were in the pocket of the guy who died, who wanted you to autograph them, but you didn't autograph them while he was alive, right? And you can't do that now. So it's a bit like a guilt trip, right? And then later on, you find out that his like second in command is saying they weren't in that guy's pocket. They were in his locker. And then Nick Fury's like, oh, but they needed a nudge. You know, so that's why I told him. So you can see that Nick Fury does actually lie. So then you can see that he's not always telling the truth, and that he'll say something to kind of manipulate or persuade the Iron Man character or whatever. It wasn't Iron Man, actually, was it? It was the, well, he said it to all the characters, I think, that were there at the time, to make them feel guilty, but it's particularly Captain America's, because they were collector's cards of Captain America that this guy said he wanted Captain America to sign, but Captain America didn't sign the cards while this guy was alive. So that was quite interesting. I think they, you know, they have set it up to make you question Nick Fury, to make you question, is he a good leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., to make you question Nick Fury's background, to make you question what he's doing and why he's doing it. You do find out that actually they were going to make mass weapons with the power of the Tesseract. They were actually, you know, so Nick Fury was going to make mass weapons of destruction using its power. So you kind of see the downside of what's going on behind the scenes. So, you know, Loki's got the Tesseract for a lot of the movie, but then you find out when it was in the hands of like Nick Fury, you actually find out that he was using it to create, like I said, mass weapons of destruction. So the question begs, why am I nose being funny tonight? The question begs, you know, like, what would have happened if the Avengers hadn't come and stepped in? What would have happened to the world? Would there have actually still been a war, and a really bad one at that? And would like it have been worse in their hands? Because it's really weird in the very, very end of the movie, which I was quite shocked about. Don't listen to this if you don't want to know it. The Tesseract is given to Thor in the end. They get the Tesseract back, and it's given to Thor, and Thor takes Loki up as his prisoner. So they go back to, Asgard with Loki being Thor's prisoner, but they've got the Tesseract with them, which is what Loki wanted in the first place. So Loki's kind of got what he wanted, but he's got to maybe be answerable for what he's done to Asgardians. But it's kind of like, isn't it missing the point that Loki wasn't meant to have he wasn't meant to have the Tesseract in the first place because it was in bad hands. So it's going to be so easy for Loki to just get his hands on the Tesseract again, because he's always conning Thor anyway and playing tricks on him. It's going to be so easy for him to just get that back again. I thought that was a bit of a weak part of the storyline. I thought they were actually going to bury it again at the bottom of the sea, because it was originally buried with Captain America, you found out, but Iron Man was the one who found it and brought it up. And it should have been left where it is, really. That's what Captain America says, you should have left it. But it hasn't been left now. So I just thought the ending like that was kind of weird. That Thor had Loki as his prisoner, but together they both had the Tesseract. So, it's like, well, they're brothers, and Loki can easily just get that again because he's good at escaping and all sorts of things. So I thought that was a very bizarre ending. I thought they could have done a better ending than that, really. But I was glad that the movie had no sex in it. I personally am not interested in sex. I was glad they didn't make any sexual connotations in it. And I was glad that, they showed Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow. They showed her in a very, special power light, if you know what I mean. So one of the beginning parts of the film is where she looks like she's being interrogated, and she's got this quote unquote sexy black dress, I guess. I say quote unquote, but I guess is what other people would say, sexy black dress. And she looks like she's been interrogated. Or, well, she is meant to have been interrogated, right? And so she's meant to be in a hostage situation where she is tied up over this chair, and there's this guy who's really horrible, and he's got these pliers. He looks like he's gonna pull her nails out at any given moment, or her teeth, or really hurt her. And there's 2 or 3 other guys with her, and so she's looking really upset, and she's trying to play the guys, the guy who's the main ringleader, who is kind of instigating, possibly chopping or squishing something of hers with these pliers. And she's like, oh, do you find me attractive? Because he says something about her looks. And then she's carrying on talking to him, and she's like, they've got her on this chair that's edging backwards, that's got a square hole or something for her to go through, plummet to her death, meant to be. But then all of a sudden the phone rings, and the baddies pick up the phone, and the people who are interrogating her pick up the phone, and they give it to her, because in the end they say, oh, we've got you surrounded, so basically you give the phone to her. So they give the phone to her, and she's like, I'm in the middle of an interrogation here. And the guy who's actually interrogating her is looking really bewildered. And she's like, yeah, I'm getting all the information I need. And he's thinking, but I'm interrogating her, not the other way around. And then he's like, and then she's told that she needs that help, because obviously the world's at stake. It needs to be saved. And so when the phone call ends, she then kicks some ass. So she's then saying thank you for all the answers you gave me. And she literally she's sat on the chair, but she uses the chair to smash the other guys, to smash the guy who's a ringleader, to fight them all with a chair. Then she breaks the chair, then gets I think it's a leg off the chair, and starts smacking them with the chair, and till basically she's knocked them all out. I don't know if she's killed them or just knocked them out. And then she just takes her high-heeled shoes with her in her sexy black dress with the stockings or tights she's got on, a bit laddered, and she just walks down the corridor. It's like, or I think it's a corridor, like nothing's bothering her. So that's how you know that she can kick ass, and that if someone tries to emotionally manipulate her, she acts like she's effective, but she isn't really. Or in this case, she's not meant to be. And so she just kicks butt. And I do like the fact that she is a very strong character. I do like the fact that she kind of played like she can be emotionally manipulated, but really she can't, because she's actually the one in control and they just don't realize it. It's kind of using reverse psychology. So I did like that. I thought it was a good introduction to her character and the power she has. Although you do see something later on, much later in the movie, because Loki tries to do mind manipulation on her and tries to like bring her childhood back to her, and how horrible her child was, and how she was manipulated and mind controlled or whatever to do what she does, and people didn't care about her. But then, Loki thinks she's a really affected, and then she doesn't get affected by that either. She's like, oh, thanks for the answers. You've told me now that the Hulk is what you're going to use against us. So she knows they're going to bring Loki's got a plan to enrage the Hulk so that the team is split apart. The ship's split apart, basically. The ship that turned into an aircraft, that is where Nick Fury and all the Avengers are on, apart from Clint, who's gone over to the dark side and is currently off the ship, but goes on it using his arrows, and that's how they end up with invasion of the Chitauri army on the actual Avengers ship, if you like, that's turned into a spaceship rather than a ship that goes on the sea. I thought it was so cool when you see this ship that looks like it's going to be a submarine, and it turns into an aircraft. So a starship, if you know what I mean. So that was really cool. I liked Iron Man because obviously he's my very favorite character. I do love the scenes with him in it. I thought the Hulk was really good. You can see the bond between Natasha and Hulk starting to form a little bit, I think, with the way they looked at each other. And you do hear something from Natasha Romanoff that gives away something about she does still have some kind of like sensitive part about her past or childhood. I think she's speaking to Captain America at the time. So yeah, it's very interesting. And there's this bit where there's like this place, I can't remember what it is. I think it's like where they're having like a banquet or something, and they're infiltrated by Clint and the Chitauri people to break in to get the to get something. I think that's how they get the Tesseract, I think. But I can't remember. They're breaking in to get something. I think, is that the Tesseract? There's always the Tesseract, like, is like the whole point of the movie. They're trying to get it. But basically, in order to open this place, I didn't know if it's to do with the Tesseract or they had to put the Tesseract in something. If you watch the movie, you can tell me more, because you probably watched it a lot more closely than I did. I was just really in awe of the action, to be honest. Sometimes I get so taken away by the action that I'm not so into the plot, if that makes sense. So I just have a vague idea of the plot, and I'm not so like analysing every single bit about the plot. Whereas I know a lot of people who are huge Avengers fans, they just analyze all the plot and every single little detail, whereas I don't really do that. So anyway, there's this bit where it's like a banquet or dinner place. Like it's a great big, I don't know, they got loads of people there. And it's like somewhere where you'd wear an evening dress, like a banquet, a special gala evening or something, right? And this guy, they get hold of him, and they have to get his they insert this thing on his face to get a picture of his eyeball so they can break into this safe that he's got. It's quite yucky, that bit. I thought Captain America was going to go in there in disguise, but he doesn't. He goes in his full Captain America outfit, which was quite funny. I'm like, oh, you're not going to go undercover then, you're just going to show that you're fully Captain America. That was quite hilarious, I thought. But the suit is good. I do like the fact that, you know, in part of the movie, you've got all the kind of the Avengers fighting together, and you see the camera pan right round them, and you see all of them looking in all their superhero splendor. You know, it's a classic Avengers kind of like movie poster moment, if you know what I mean. And it plays the Avengers, you know, like theme tune in the background, like the triumphant theme tune. And so I do love that. I think they do that in, do they do that in all the Marvel movies? I think they have this kind of like poise about them, all these poses with this dramatic kind of like music that's got like a resolve around the music. You know what I mean? It's kind of the music that, you know, it's like they're strong in numbers, they're fighting, they're triumphant, they've got this resolve energy about them. And it's like, and the camera kind of slows down and pans around them. And it's like, you know, these moments are when you would take photographs and make them into movie posters, if you know what I mean. So I think you know what I'm talking about. And I think that's great if you're a huge Marvel fan, because you're like, oh, heart's fluttering right now because I can see these movie magic moments and it's just breathtaking. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, let's get them. Let's be triumphant, I should say. Let's triumph. He's amazing. And they've got, you know, they all take these like poses and stance, and it's like, yeah, superhero power. And if you watch like superhero movies as a child or big child adult, and if you've grown up with superhero movies and they do these poses, I think it really hits the heart. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, wow, you know, it hits it where it hurts in terms of superhero movie. When I say hits it where it hurts, it kind of hits it where it spreads joy. You know, it's hurting so much because it's like, wow, this is so amazing. This is like a cool historic movie moment scene that I just need to capture and live in forever. I hope you get what I mean. Anyway, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've got some more words to share about this movie, please do pop them in comments below. You might have some more constructive stuff to say about the movie than I do, because I do get in awe of all the superhero stuff that's going on. I get a bit mind blown by all the action which is in this movie. I was surprised for a first movie how much action there was and how awesome the special effects were, and how good the overall storyline was in terms of speed of action, I would say. You know what I mean? So yeah, I was thinking, oh, this movie's really good. I didn't expect it to be that good because of the first movie, which might seem weird. But I think as a movie director and producer, those people tend to try and make the next movie better and the next movie and the next movie. But I was actually blown away by how much action was in this first movie. Let me know what you think anyway. Subscribe and hit the bell icon. Don't forget to get my fibromyalgia self-help handbook. If you love superhero movies, you're going to love this book because it's my autobiographical self-help handbook, and it can help you to be the superhero of your own life and save yourself from pain, whether you have fibromyalgia or not. It's told in a superhero style, like all the chapters. It's really good fun. And this is me on the back cover in my superhero outfit. And also, if you want to know more about asexuality, grab Asexual Perspectives book and my latest Diary Confessions of a Hyper-Romantic Asexual book, 78 Life Lessons to Ace Your Life. They're all available on Amazon. Look forward to seeing you next video live stream. Lots of love. Take care. Bye. Don't forget to share, thumbs up, like, comment, and subscribe.